We're good, Beth?
We are live.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Good morning. It is Friday, April 5th. This is a special meeting of the Darien Board of Education Policy Committee. Our next meeting is scheduled for May 3rd. We have a handful of policies on the agenda this morning, continuing primarily with the 9000 series. And with that, Marge, I'll turn it right over to you.
Right, so one quick overarching comment is we will clean up the formatting when we accept the changes. It's just Shipman, the way they format things, it makes it impossible. So I know there are issues with that. Also, a lot of the changes to these policies are in response to remote meetings and guidance from the Freedom of Information Commission. So some of that is reflected in policy 9310. The other major change in 9310 or potential change that we'd like you to think about is under paragraph 6, public address. It says that 3 minutes may be allotted to each speaker. Shipman and Goodwin's model policy provides that the board can set a maximum amount of time for any single subject matter. And Mrs. Best and I were talking before the meeting. This gives the board the ability to do that at any meeting. So it doesn't need to be set in stone. So it's just, the question is whether the committee would like to recommend that to the board.
So we don't have to limit anything further, but we have the option. So, right. So for
But it should
example,
be in the policy if you would like to.
right, if we have, lunch offerings on it, I'm making up a ridiculous example on the agenda. And we walk into the room and we have 40 people who clearly want to talk about it. We can say we're going to spend 30 minutes on public comment on a certain topic. So I like having the option to do that, obviously not the requirement.
So you can do it by subject by meeting,
Yes.
as long as it's announced before.
Yes.
Dave, any thoughts from you?
No, I think the idea of having the ability to say we're going to spend 15 minutes talking about, Bosco sticks and having the ability to limit there sounds like a pretty good option for the board to have.
Excellent.
I love it.
Okay. Great.
So I didn't fill in a number, a time, an amount. I don't know whether you want to do that to send it to the board.
Oh, so do we have to specify what that limit would be in the policy?
No, I mean, I could take out that and
I think I was envisioning or understanding it to be that we could, at the time, if it were something bigger or the crowd were bigger, we might give it an hour. Or if it were something else, it might be.
I'll talk to Jessica about
Okay.
changing the language to give you that flexibility.
Okay.
So let's definitely take a look.
Yes. Yes. I think we
have
can
that
keep it,
discussion.
keep it moving. John's saying. I agree.
Right.
That's great.
I can argue, maybe say it should be something. Well, again, 15 minutes seems kind of okay to me. You get 5 speakers through. I'd love to have that out there as kind of a guideline. I'd love the option to be able to change it as well. I guess if I could have everything, I'd have that as kind of the standard, and then we'd have the ability to change it if necessary. But also the reason I would like to do that as a standard is just so the public knows how we operate. Just a consideration from my point of view.
Good point. Okay. Thank you.
Again, does 15 minutes sound right as the standard? Does 15 minutes sound right as the standard?
Oh,
On a topic.
Right.
I think that'd be
I
way
think
too
that's
short.
too
But
short.
Yeah, why don't
Yeah.
can we talk about the time limit with the board, like everybody else's input, I think.
Yep. Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Okay, 93, I'm sorry.
I just want to say, I just think as long as we're, relatively consistent in how we approach it, because we now want to talk about certain subjects or will, just looking for actually to be arbitrary and, gracious about it. That's all.
Yeah,
Understood. Okay.
but we could do like up to an hour or something like that. But again, I'd love the input of everybody else.
Do you want to recommend that there's any provision for just a generally long? So I know, I think it's in Stamford where if they have people sign up in advance, and if it appears that there's going to be more than 30 minutes of public comment, they actually reduce the public comment time by a minute and then they cut it off. So again, it just gives some flexibility to the board on a more general basis too. I'm not suggesting that methodology necessarily, but I'm wondering if the committee wants to contemplate anything that isn't specific to a subject matter.
So I believe we have room to do that in here because it says that 3 minutes may be allotted to
Okay.
each speaker.
Okay,
So my understanding is we could do that in a meeting.
Okay.
We were just talking about that's happened to me before presenting somewhere. I was told I'd have 3 minutes and then it became 2 minutes and
Okay.
it's tricky, but it's
Sure.
a better way to get to hear from more people.
yes.
So in the spirit of hearing from the public, it can be a very useful lever for us.
I mean, would you like people to sign up for public comment? I mean, if we did that, it should probably be in the policy, just to give people notice that they had to do it.
I'd be curious to see Shipman's language on that.
Do do they have something probably?
I've seen it in other districts where
Okay,
they're required,
So
so.
now this is getting a little more.
I know.
So why don't we look at it again here before we kick
Okay.
everything up? Is that-
The one other piece I did want to mention that we haven't touched on yet is also the state your name and address, because we've been a little funny on that one, particularly as it relates to students and teachers or
Yeah.
staff, I think. But the policy does say that a speaker at public comment will state their name and address. So I don't know if we say name and town of residency. I don't know if there's any way to soften that requirement.
Let's do
Um,
that. Yeah.
I think that would be a nice adjustment to make.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think this one is staying in committee.
Correct. Sorry.
No.
You know what? Less work.
Is that all clear, Marge?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, 9320 time, place and notice of meetings. Again, it's mostly to do with remote meetings, but I can't even tell what, in paragraph 3A, there are some boards of education that will not take on a new agenda item after a certain time unless there's a 2/3 vote. So if it gets to be 10:30 and you still have agenda items, you don't continue unless you get board
I
agreement.
love how you picked 10:30.
Well, oh, that's the one I'm used to. That's why. That's why. Anytime, 9 o'clock.
I mean, 10:30 is 3 hours. So it might be the right moment to pause and say, do we want to tackle this? And if it's just the, I don't know, whatever the last report typically is,
Mhm.
you know, yes, let's just do it, but
Right. And if we vote, we can choose to
Yeah.
just do it and power on.
Yes. And
Um,
the 10:30 is just because that's
I
what
know,
Westport
I-
did. So.
it sounds like it's 3 hours though,
Yeah,
typically.
right.
So it's a good moment to kind of,
that's a solid
I love
amount
it.
of meeting time. I think it's a good thing to take to the full board.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that from anybody else?
I'm with moving this forward.
Okay, with moving it forward, thank you. Okay, I didn't have anything else there either. Everybody else good? Awesome.
Policy 9330, public meeting and executive sessions, those are stylistic changes.
I didn't have anything there.
Me neither.
Same.
Excellent.
Policy 9340, construction and posting of agenda. So Shipman's model policy makes it a little clearer how items get on the agenda, but none of this is legally required. So the fact that 1 board member versus 3 board members versus town residents, so that you have some discretion there.
Go ahead, John.
So I love the addition of C. In that, you know, you can't have just 1 board member dictate, but if you get, it's not a majority, but you know, it's a decent consensus that's elite, and it reads, if at least 3 board members request or wanting that an additional agenda item be placed on a board's agenda, will either be placed on the agenda or a special meeting of the board will be scheduled within 14 days of written request. Yeah, we also had a policy on a special meeting. I thought it was 4 members, like 4 members could, right? Was it 4?
For
It's-
special,
For a special meeting.
To request a special meeting?
Yeah, so this is incongruent with that I don't know where that is, but I know around COVID, it occurred.
I'll have to check. It
Yeah.
should have
No,
been
it
in
either.
this series, but I don't.
Right, yeah.
I don't know if we use statute for that.
No, I think it was in
It was in the policy?
Yeah, I'll have to, sorry, I just caught that last part. Dave, you don't remember, do you?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. So, but I love the agenda item aspect.
Marge, does that mean that the board will schedule the meeting to happen within 14 days, or that they will within 14 days get it on the schedule to happen
Says
in
will
the
be
future?
scheduled within it.
Okay, so that's what that means.
Wait, will be placed on the agenda,
It's a future agenda properly, I think it's meaning.
future agenda, I think, Marge.
Placed on the agenda or a special meeting of the board will be scheduled within 14 days.
I think you need to clarify this language because there have been times when putting it on for a future meeting, a month,
Right.
2 months out has been satisfactory. There have been times when board members were looking for something with immediacy. And then so this, I think, implies immediacy, which is different
Yeah. And
from just wanting the topic to be covered.
Right. We might have to check on that.
So then if you look at B and you see some language that I thought you should consider, if it's an immediate request, do you want to put that time limit on? That if it's not within 72 hours, that it doesn't necessarily get on that agenda.
Which one is that, Mark? Sorry?
That's B,
B.
1B has that optional language.
Right.
it's almost like they don't, no, that's,
No later than 72.
so it just, it requires a reply from the chair, basically.
Yeah.
That, I don't mind that language as I read it. It just says if I want to put an agenda item on the agenda in some way, shape or form, the board chair and the superintendent must say, I considered it and get some sort of reaction.
Response.
Yeah.
And the person making their request needs to do it with at least 72 hours lead time before the agenda is going to be posted.
Seems like pretty short time frame.
For the immediate, yeah.
Again, I think it depends on what it is. There are times when we make a request for something that requires the administration to do research.
Right.
And there are times that we're looking for something that's more in the way of an update. So if, for example, we just wanted a literacy update and 3 of us wanted that, I don't know that it would require 72 hours. That said, there is a mechanism whereby 2/3 of a board can amend the agenda anyway.
Right.
In the meeting. So, again, you wouldn't want the 72 hours to preclude something very timely
Right.
from
From
coming up.
Getting onto an
But if
agenda.
it requires preparation, I can appreciate that we cannot say, 24 hours in advance, I want a complete debrief on the entire SRBI program, how many,
Yeah.
with no
Right.
time to prepare. So
So B allows for discretion. It allows for the chair and the superintendent to say that can't be done on this agenda, right? But does it make it too hard to ask that something get added? In which case you would have to use in the meeting amend the agenda
right.
trick. And is that too,
Putting it all in
Clumsy.
that context, I think it's perfectly acceptable.
because since there is another way to do it, then it feels
Yeah.
okay to me. Unless we think that that's too, I don't know what the right word is, not too challenging, but to amend the agenda in the meeting. If you didn't make the request more than 72 hours before the agenda was being posted, or is that too
Sorry, I lost
arduous?
you there. Say that again.
So what we're saying is this covers a general request. And if it's a request that would require research and preparation and planning, then it gives room for the board chair to say, it's not going on this agenda for next week. What it doesn't necessarily do is allow for a person to say, I just got 6 emails from somebody about the way we do X, Y, and Z. In a simpler sense, could we address that on Tuesday in our meeting? And if it's not more than 72 hours before the agenda has to be posted, there isn't a mechanism for the board chair to say, yes, we can do that. In that case, it has to get kicked to in the meeting decision to amend the agenda.
But again, board chair can decide on themselves to do it within that 72 hours, right?
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it makes sense, board chair is going to do it.
right. Okay, thank you. That's a good point.
All right,
I'm
so
overcomplicating that.
B, are we good?
I'm good on B. Dave, you good on B?
I thought I was, now I'm not sure.
And is it B with 72 hours?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think John's point that the chair is going to do what the chair is going to do. I think that's how this is going to operate more than the prescriptive language here. So I think I'm okay with this generally.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Dave, to your response, it just, the to consider, it requires a chair to at least give some sort of consideration versus the last time the prior language, I shouldn't say last time, the prior language chair could just blow it off, right? That's the way I read it. But maybe I'm even overanalyzing it too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the contours of the word to consider, if there's any magic language there or
No,
anything.
to
That was
consider
yours.
was mine.
To consider
For you to
us,
consider. Yeah, sorry.
Right, yeah,
Oh.
so.
Confusing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, and there's some play on words right there.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
That was for the committee, sorry.
Hold on.
Does that
Let me
change things
reread
for
this
you?
now.
Maybe we should look this over again next meeting.
Yeah,
We can. There's one other question on D that we should throw out before, if we're gonna go back and revisit this next time. About town residents and taxpayers request in writing to the chairperson that the board place an item on the agenda. To do so, they must 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't make clear that there is an opportunity for the board to decide not to put that item on the agenda. I would think that we get to use discretion in whether or not we put something on the agenda. So
absolutely.
I think we need to look at that language and add that consideration piece in there. Or
All right, so this one gets kind of punted again.
Yeah.
Not punted, that's the wrong word. Revisited, right, Dave?
Yeah,
We-
I'd punt.
And we'll look about that policy about 4 people calling for a special meeting also.
Yep.
Okay. Or not policy, whatever, however that mechanism was employed in the past. We'll see where that came from. You good on that, Marge?
Right.
On what we're doing? Okay, thank you.
So 9350 quorum and voting procedures, this clarifies again with remote participation, what's required.
Anybody have anything there?
No, just in practice, we should use the roll call when somebody's
When it's
remoting.
not unanimous, yeah. All right, cool.
9360 minutes. I thought I had done a search. Shipman likes to call it the internet website, but I removed most of the internets, but there's an internet here. But other than that, it just specifies the process for keeping and posting minutes.
Using that as an example, I saw the word bylaw also in there somewhere and now I can't find it. So can you just do a word search on bylaw somewhere in these? I think one of the revisions.
Yep. Yes.
We currently don't post our minutes until after they're approved. We don't post them within 7 days of a meeting. So which way do we want to do it?
We're
So
required,
if the
right?
board chooses to post minutes on the website, then they need to post them within 7 days and it says unapproved. That's freedom of information. But I think what this makes clear is that there's no requirement that you post them.
That you post them at all.
Right.
But if you're going to post them after, you have to post them when they're in draft
Right.
form.
That's at the end of paragraph 5. It says the board shall not be required by law to post such minutes.
I did go over these with Sarah last night. Told her that since she doesn't have to sign all those things, she has plenty of time to get the minutes posted in draft form. But no, she was saying that the minutes are always done within 7 days, so it's not an arduous task for this step to happen.
And it'll
Okay.
just say not approved.
Yes,
Perfect.
and then we'll be swapped out for the approved
Yep.
once that's the case.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the next two policies, 9240 and 9220, official duties of the chairperson and secretary. We took out the requirement that the town treasurer's orders be signed because we got confirmation from the town that they don't need signed orders.
No other comments from Sarah on this one also at the time. Just Dave, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
And so 9160, we're going to bring back to the committee. We did receive, it's filling vacancies on the board. We did receive guidance from Shipman and Goodwin, but not until later yesterday.
9220? Did you miss 9220?
91.6.
9160.
Oh, it's.
I did those two together.
Oh, you did? I'm so
Yes, sir. I'm
sorry. Sorry, my bad. So go. sorry.
About filling a position vacated by an unaffiliated member of the board. So she has guidance for us, which reflects the comments that we gave, but it wasn't in enough time for you to be able to review. So we'll bring it next time.
That sounds
Okay.
fine. And anything else there? Okie dokie.
And policy 5050, administration of student medications. It's been reviewed both by Emily Merritt and Tim Kenefick, our medical advisor. There've been significant changes to the law in a few areas, but specifically the administration of Narcan in schools.
And they were okay with it, or did they
Yes.
change anything from Shipman, or was it?
Not really,
Okay,
because we're following the law right now, so this is just doing the same.
I did not have anything else on that. Anyone has any
Nope.
thoughts on it?
No,
Dave, nope. Jill, you good? Yeah, okay. So we are keeping, I think, 3 policies in committee, 9310. 9320 and 9160, is that right? Nope, 9340 and 9160. Okay. We good? All right, guys, and the rest we'll take forward. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, public comment.
Good morning. If anybody in person would like to participate in public comment, please state your name and address for the record and wait for the chairperson to acknowledge you.
Joanna Walsh, 17 Pleasant Street. I just want to caution the board when it comes to limiting public comment. Yes, there are nights that are really very, very long, but I think it's always been a credit to the board that you sit and listen to everyone. And in this environment, when your communication focus groups came back and said, already people have that opportunity and don't feel like they're being heard, to then collapse that on nights when there might need to be a lot of people that want to speak, I think would have very negative consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
If anyone online would like to participate in public comment, please use the raised hand icon. We have no raised hands at this time.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion